A girl is hit by a speeding truck and blacks out. She wakes up in an unfamiliar room, sitting on the floor. A cold man with blood on his hand orders her to clean it. Still disoriented and thinking it might be a dream, she obeys. While wiping the blood, she notices a familiar scar on his hand that stirs a memory. The man is strikingly handsome, just her type, but his bad temper instantly ruins the appeal. She decides he's definitely not worth it. He orders her to leave, and when she opens the door, a crowd of shocked palace staff rush toward her, exclaiming, "Rose, you're alive?" Confused, she realizes they're not speaking Korean and has no idea why everyone is panicking. A sudden headache hits and unfamiliar memories flood her mind. She hears a voice identifying as Rose, daughter of the late Baron Estania. After losing her parents, Rose began working in the Crown Prince's palace. Just yesterday, she became his chambermaid. Horrified to realize these aren't her own memories, the girl collapses. The next morning, she sees a stranger with pink hair and a lace nightgown in the mirror. Panicked, she searches the room for proof she's not losing her mind. Her eyes land on a book. The moment she touches it, it glows faintly, almost like it's reacting to her. She opens it and realizes it's a diary. As she flips through the pages, she finds Rose's neatly written entries describing her daily responsibilities as the Crown Prince's chambermaid. According to the diary, Rose wakes up at 6, fetches breakfast for the Crown Prince by 7, and helps him get ready for the day. As the girl flips through, hoping for answers, one chilling line stops her. "I'm scared. I've been ordered to assassinate the Crown Prince." Her blood runs cold, stunned by the revelation. As the girl reads further, she finds that Rose wrote, "Emily, the previous chambermaid, died and she believes she'll be next." Forced to assassinate the Crown Prince, Rose sees it as a death sentence. The girl finds it strange, wondering if Rose wanted someone to read this. Then one line shocks her. The Duke wants Crown Prince Kalix Forsman dead. The name Kalix Forsman sounds familiar, too familiar. Could it really be the same Kalix she knows? Realization hits. She may have reincarnated into a different universe. Panic sets in. What about her career, her family, her life? She tells herself to stay calm and focus on understanding the situation. Memories of the body's original owner begin returning. She's Rose Estania, the orphan daughter of a fallen noble family, now serving as Kalix Forsman's chambermaid. Based on what she remembers, she's somehow ended up inside the dark fantasy novel she recently finished. And Kalix Forsman? He's the tyrannical male lead of that story. Worse, it's not just any fantasy, it's a mature dark romance novel from the early 2000s. Of all the books, why did it have to be that one? A sudden realization hits her. Was there even a character named Rose in the novel? If Kalix is still just the Crown Prince, the main plot hasn't started yet, which means she's possessed a minor character who could die at any moment. She remembers Kalix as the kind of guy who beheads people for the smallest offense. Is she going to die too? She desperately hopes not, especially after working so hard to land her hotel job in her previous life. Her top priority now is survival. Once Kalix kills his siblings and claims the throne, it's clear which side she needs to be on. She rereads and memorizes all of Rose's duties as the Crown Prince's chambermaid, determined to survive by staying on Kalix's good side. Telling herself, "I've got this," she heads to the kitchen, knowing that aligning with the winning side is her best shot at surviving and maybe returning home. She greets the kitchen staff, and the chef asks why she's there. She replies she's come to get the Crown Prince's breakfast. The chef remarks he heard a new girl became his chambermaid and jokes that she hasn't lost her head yet. She plays along, silently thinking, "How else would I be talking to you?" When she asks what's on the menu, the chef bluntly replies, "Why would you care?" Suddenly, she notices how filthy the place is, something the novel never mentioned. Distracted, she doesn't respond right away, prompting the chef to ask if she even heard him. She quickly recovers, explaining that she hasn't had much schooling and just wants to learn the names of the dishes she'll be serving the Crown Prince. The chef brushes it off, saying she's just a maid, but eventually agrees to tell her. When he questions whether she can remember it all, she silently notes how openly condescending he is. Out loud, she thanks him and says she'll take the dishes to His Highness now. On her way to deliver breakfast, she reminds herself of one rule: whatever happens, don't anger the male lead. But trouble starts immediately. She's unsure how to properly address Kalix. "Majesty, Highness, he's not emperor yet. Maybe just Crown Prince?" Frustrated, she decides to wing it, trusting the language will translate her intent. She greets him with an overly formal, "Your most exalted Imperial Highness. What a resplendently beautiful morning it is." Kalix remains silent, making her wonder if she said something wrong. Then he finally tells her to come in, and she feels momentarily relieved, until he coldly adds that if she'd arrived a minute later, he would have slashed her head off. What a shame. The original novel, Empire of the Blood Moon, doesn't delve into Kalix's past. What matters is that he's a mad tyrant who eventually falls for the female lead. The plot doesn't even focus on his rise to emperor. Still, Rose is shocked to realize Kalix is already this unhinged so early in the story. She reminds herself not to let him get to her. If he does, she's doomed. She responds calmly, promising to always serve him promptly, and Kalix falls silent, turning away. Rose takes that as a sign she's safe for now, but something feels off. His room is unusually plain for a crown prince, the food is far too basic for a palace, and she's the only servant attending to him. Could Kalix be an outcast? She wonders, then shrugs. It's none of her business. Rose cheerfully announces that she'll be serving breakfast and passionately describes each dish, but Kalix just glares at her. Suddenly, he gets up, making her panic. What did she do wrong? Kalix suspiciously asks what she's up to this time and whether she's changed her tactics. Confused, Rose asks what he means. She quickly offers to have the chef make something else if the food isn't to his liking. Internally, she's exasperated. What tactics? Just say you don't like the food. Kalix suddenly demands to know who she really is. Rose calmly replies that she's his new chambermaid as of yesterday, but Kalix insists that's not what he meant. Internally, Rose is baffled. That is what he asked. What more does he want? When he tells her to answer properly, she responds politely, saying that if anything displeased him, she'll fix it right away. Internally, she scoffs. Who is she? An intern hotelier at a 5-star hotel in 21st century South Korea who's dealt with her fair share of rude customers. This doesn't faze her one bit. Kalix tells her to forget it and take the dishes away. Rose feels relieved. She's been excused. She politely says she'll inform the chef to make adjustments, but Kalix snaps that he doesn't care and just wants her gone. Remembering the dirty jacket she noticed earlier, Rose offers to take it for mending if he's not wearing it today, then quickly makes her exit. Watching her leave, Kalix mutters, "What's the matter with that girl?" During lunch, a maid named Mila rushes over to Rose, shouting her name. Concerned, Rose asks what's wrong. Tearfully, Mila asks if she's really okay, her head still attached. Rose assures her she's fine. Mila then complains that the head maid went too far this time. How could she do this to Rose? Confused, Rose asks what exactly happened. Mila bluntly says everyone knows Rose is the most incompetent person at the Crown Prince's palace. Internally, Rose wonders, wait, is Mila insulting me? Mila quickly clarifies she didn't mean to be rude. It's just that Rose has the least experience and often makes mistakes. Rose asks why then. She was assigned as the Crown Prince's chambermaid. Mila reminds her that she crossed the head maid after breaking an expensive plate. Suddenly, Rose remembers. She tells Mila, "Oh right, I remember." Mila, relieved, says she's just glad Rose is okay, because, as everyone knows, no one who becomes the Crown Prince's chambermaid ever makes it out alive. Rose senses something is off. Kalix is overly tense about even basic tasks, his room and clothes are too plain, and the diary mentioned she was ordered to assassinate him. She starts piecing things together. Curious, she asks Mila if she's heard anything about a new maid joining. Mila confirms it. She saw the head maid arrive with a new girl earlier that morning. Seeing Rose suddenly go pale, Mila asks if something's wrong. Internally, Rose panics. If her theory is right, she's going to die today. Here's her theory. The Crown Prince, also the male lead, isn't actually a ruthless murderer. If the previous chambermaids were also ordered to assassinate him, like she was, then Kalix likely killed them in self-defense. That would mean all former chambermaids fell into one of two categories. Either they were real assassins or placeholders until the real assassin arrived. The original Rose Estania, clumsy and inexperienced, was probably coerced by the Duke into becoming a pawn. Based on the diary entries, she doesn't seem like a true assassin. This also suggests the head maid is working with the Duke. After all, she's the one who selects the chambermaids. And the sudden arrival of a new maid today? That girl is likely the real assassin. Whether they plan to replace Rose or eliminate her to cover their tracks, one thing is clear. They have no reason to keep her alive. Mila sees Rose trembling and asks if she's okay. Rose admits she's not, while internally screaming, "Of all the novels out there, why did it have to be this one?" Her outburst shocks Mila. Later, in her room, Rose collapses from exhaustion after cleaning Kalix's massive bedroom all by herself. Thanks to her hotelier experience, she did a perfect job. The upside? That's her only task, and she's free to use the rest of her time however she wants. With that relief, she decides it's time to come up with a plan. As she flips through the diary again, she notices the writing has changed. A new entry claims Rose received a bottle of poison from the Duke to assassinate the Crown Prince and hid it in the chest under her bed, on the right. Alarmed, she checks and finds the bottle exactly where the diary said it would be. Is someone messing with me? She wonders. She writes a question in the diary, "Who are you?" hoping it will respond, but nothing happens. Frustrated, she tries again, still with no response. Eventually, she gives up, thinking that honestly, she might have freaked out if it had answered. Her eyes fall back on the poison. For now, she figures she'll just have to make use of what she's got. She grabs a perfume bottle and pours a small amount of poison into it. That night, when Kalix returns to his room, he's surprised to find it spotless and gleaming. He notices the jacket Rose took to mend neatly placed on the table and examines it. Rose asks if she should prepare some tea, but Kalix just stares at her silently. Internally, Rose wonders, "What's wrong? I was flawless just now." Kalix finally remarks, "Trying way too hard, aren't we? Do whatever, I don't care." Annoyed, Rose thinks he could have at least given her a compliment after all the work she put in. She silently calls him a petty, salty-minded brat who acts like the world revolves around him. Suddenly, Kalix calls out to her, startling her. She panics. "Wait, did he hear what I just said in my head? Can he read minds?" She quickly apologizes internally, just in case. Kalix is about to say something, but before he can, there's a knock at the door. A voice, someone named Lewel, asks for permission to enter. Rose feels relieved by the interruption. Kalix nearly gave her a heart attack. Then it hits her. Lewel? Wait. Isn't he the second male lead? While Kalix and Lewel discuss politics, Rose arrives to serve tea. She reassures herself that it was brewed using tea leaves from the kitchen, so it should be safe, but then panics at the thought of tasting it herself in case it's poisoned. Kalix will survive since he's the male lead, but she, just a minor character, definitely won't. She recalls that Lewel Chris, the second male lead, is Kalix's trusted confidant and the captain of the Imperial Guard. Though he seems kind and gentle, unlike Kalix, he ultimately betrays him after having an affair with the female lead. In short, he's not as harmless as he appears, and Rose decides it's best to keep her distance. Lewel informs Kalix that he's gathered the details on the individuals Kalix asked about. When Kalix asks for the plan, Lewel shares a summary of their recent activities and suspects the third Imperial Prince is behind a certain event. Rose's ears perk up at the mention. She remembers that 4 of the Emperor's children are eligible to inherit the throne. She recalls the 4 imperial heirs, the first and third princes, sons of the first Empress Consort, the second prince, son of the second Empress Consort, and Crown Prince Kalix, son of the Empress. In the original story, Kalix eventually kills all 3 of his half-brothers and takes the throne. Though that happens much later, Rose now wonders, could the third prince be his first target? Suddenly, Kalix glares at her and Rose panics. Was she too obvious about eavesdropping? To cover it up, she cheerfully presents the tea and treats. Kalix then tells her to run an errand. Fetch the 3rd volume of History of the Empire from the dark room at the end of the hallway. As she heads off, Rose laments missing out on the political conversation and realizes he basically chased her out. Still, she's relieved he doesn't suspect her of anything shady and understands why he wouldn't want to talk politics in front of her. When Rose enters the dark room, it's barely lit like something straight out of a horror movie. She tells herself to grab the book and leave quickly. Fortunately, she spots it right away. But then, a gust of wind blows through the window, extinguishing the light. Uneasy, she wonders if someone else is in the room. It couldn't be Kalix. He'd never come here. Could it be Lewel? Or worse, someone sent by the Duke? If they're planning to kill her, they'll make it look like an accident. If her death is investigated, it could expose the assassin, the head maid, and even the Duke. That's why they wouldn't leave any loose ends. Maybe they plan to push her out the window. Just then, someone attacks her from behind. Meanwhile, Kalix questions Lewel about the others involved. Lewel reports that the new maid seems to be a mercenary and confirms her ties to the Duke. Kalix asks if that means Rose Estania isn't involved. Lewel replies that it's too soon to tell. He then notes that Kalix actually remembered the maid's name. Kalix insists he always remembers their names, but Luel calls him out. He usually just refers to them as this girl or that girl, implying that Kalix might have taken an unusual interest in Rose. Kalix mutters that he can never figure out what's going on in her head, which confuses Luel, but Kalix dismisses it. Then suddenly, he realizes Rose has been gone for too long. Growing suspicious, Kalix and Luel head toward the room. Luel offers to check on Rose himself, but Kalix refuses, pretending he's simply annoyed that she's taking too long. Internally, though, Kalix is worried. If Rose isn't working with the Duke, then the Duke has every reason to get rid of her. And right now, she's alone. Realizing the danger, Kalix curses and says urgently, "Let's hurry." "Yes, Your Highness," Luel replies. Rose quickly sprays the poison-laced perfume into her attacker's face, blinding him. Though unable to see, he continues swinging his sword wildly, and in the chaos, the book Kalix had asked her to retrieve is sliced in half. When Rose demands to know who sent him, the man refuses to answer and keeps attacking. Frightened, Rose worries she might actually die. She tells him the spray was poison, the very one the Duke gave her, and warns that the more he thrashes around, the faster it will spread and kill him. He dismisses it as nonsense. Suddenly, Rose knocks him out with a flower vase. From outside, she coolly remarks that even without any fighting skills, she won't lose to someone who can't see. Internally, though, she admits she was terrified, and her heart is still racing. She demands again to know who sent him, stomping on him in frustration when he doesn't answer. The man groans in pain, thinking she's not even giving him a chance to speak. Rose curses him angrily, calling him a jerk with no conscience. Just then, Kalix and Luel arrive and witness the scene. Flustered, Rose immediately shifts her tone and says sweetly, "Oh my, Your Highness, this man seems to be an assassin." Kalix suddenly laughs, leaving Rose confused and wondering what's so funny. As he approaches, she nervously explains that she was ambushed and in the middle of questioning the attacker. She assumes he was sent by the Duke. Kalix grins, unsettling her. She thinks to herself how creepy it is when someone like him smiles. She shows him the poison she used, and Kalix immediately identifies it as Rix's poison, deadly, causing the victim to cough up blood and die within an hour. Luel then recognizes the attacker as the palace stableman. Kalix leaves the assassin to Luel and orders Rose to come with him. Alarmed, she wonders why. Once in his room, Kalix tells her he expects a proper answer this time and gets straight to the point, asking, "What the hell are you?" Rose is shocked. He just referred to her as what? She thinks to herself that she's actually a South Korean hotelier named Lee Chaerin, but that's not what Kalix is asking. He doesn't want her name, Rose Estania. He wants to know why she had that poison and what her real purpose is. Realizing this, Rose knows she must convince him she's on his side. She explains that before being appointed as his maid, she received orders and the poison from the Duke. However, she adds that anyone with common sense knows where their true loyalty should lie. She kneels and declares, "Your most esteemed highness, I pledge my heart and soul in unwavering service to you." Kalix replies, "Is that so? And how exactly do you plan to do that?" Rose answers, "Through food." After examining the kitchen, she noticed several areas in need of improvement, especially since those meals are served to him. She also offers to help by cleaning, managing his clothes, and handling other daily tasks to create a more pleasant environment. Kalix responds by reminding her that he's the traitor's son, implying there's nothing to gain from siding with him. Rose recalls the Empress was once accused of treason and realizes Kalix still doesn't trust her. She's frustrated by how suspicious he is. She then tells Kalix that she was likely meant to die today or soon after. She heard a new maid recently arrived, but her life was spared thanks to him. She begs for a chance to repay his kindness. Amused by her persistence, Kalix agrees to give her that chance. Rose dramatically thanks him, vowing loyalty and devoted service. Annoyed by her overly formal tone, Kalix tells her to stop speaking like that. She doubles down, which makes him suspect she's doing it on purpose. Internally, Rose thinks, day one of waking up in a romance fantasy world, she managed to survive. Young Kalix desperately pleads with the Emperor to save his mother, insisting that the Empress has been falsely accused of treason. However, the Emperor coldly refuses, claiming she tried to kill him. Kalix then turns to his uncle for help, but his uncle advises him to stay silent and out of sight, saying it's the only way to survive. Desperate to live, Kalix realizes it's kill or be killed. Suddenly, in the midst of this grim dream, Rose appears cheerfully, offering cookies and tea. Kalix jolts awake, startled and confused, wondering what kind of absurd dream he just had. Lewell enters the room, surprised to find Kalix inside, since there had been no response when he knocked. He apologizes for the intrusion and explains that he only came to drop off a report, then asks if Kalix just woke up. Although still unsettled by the strange dream, Kalix brushes it off and asks why Lewell is there. Lewell informs him that the assassin has been taken care of and shows him the shredded remains of Volume 3 of the History of the Empire. Kalix smirks at the ruined book and remarks that someone now has a new errand to run. Meanwhile, Rose suddenly feels a chill down her spine and wonders why. In the kitchen, the chef is surprised to see her, recognizing her as the girl from yesterday and noting that she's still alive. Rose cheerfully replies that she's alive and well. The chef then asks why she keeps coming down to the kitchen. Internally, Rose is disgusted by his unhygienic appearance and thinks someone is bound to get an upset stomach. Rose politely suggests that he tuck his hair into his hat and trim his nails and beard. Offended, the chef yells at her, demanding to know who she thinks she is. Internally, Rose reminds herself to stay firm. She's dealt with worse in the Korean service industry. She introduces herself as Rose, the new chambermaid, and tactfully explains that while he pours his heart into cooking amazing dishes, even the slightest foreign substance in the food could cause the delicate crown prince to reject it entirely, wasting all his efforts. She quickly adds, of course, that a seasoned chef like him would never make such a mistake. Rose wonders if he's convinced, then adds that it's simply wise to prevent issues before they arise. Suddenly, the chef bursts out laughing and says he was surprised when she made it out of His Highness's bedchamber in one piece, but now he sees it wasn't just luck. Impressed by her boldness, he agrees to follow her advice and says he likes her fierce spirit. Rose thanks him for his understanding. He introduces himself as Tyrant, the Crown Prince's palace chef, and tells her to reach out if she needs anything, though he jokingly adds that he never promised to help. Chef Tyrant then gathers the kitchen staff and introduces Rose as the Crown Prince's chambermaid, asking everyone to do their best to assist her if needed. The staff warmly welcomes her. Meanwhile, a ginger-haired man quietly observes and mutters to himself, "Rose Estania, was it?" Rose is summoned by Crown Prince Kalix, who demands an explanation for the damaged book. Weighing her response carefully, Rose promises to find an identical replacement. Kalix then has her open the book, revealing a sparkling piece of paper torn in half. He sternly asks if he can count on her to retrieve the exact same one. Rose agrees, though inwardly she fumes. What is this? He's piling on yet another task. She's a chambermaid, not a secret agent. Doesn't he have other subordinates? Oh right, he has serious trust issues. Still, why her? Kalix tosses her a bag of gold coins, saying he trusts that will be enough for the task. Rose, stunned by the generous payment, quickly drops her complaints. She enthusiastically replies, "You bet, Your Highness," and asks for the deadline. Kalix gives her 2 days and dismisses her. Rose responds eagerly, assuring him to leave it to her. After Rose leaves, Lewell asks Kalix if he really believes she can find the item, an invitation to the auction hosted by the Third Imperial Prince, something even Kalix had trouble obtaining. Kalix admits he doubts it and clarifies that he didn't assign her the task. She volunteered. Lewell recalls a childhood memory of Kalix declaring that if he didn't strike first, others would kill him. Seeing his cousins smile faintly now, Lewell smiles too and says it would be nice if the maid succeeded. Kalix scoffs, saying there's no way a maid could pull it off. Lewell remarks that dealing with Kalix's mood swings has always been difficult, but lately it's gotten worse. Kalix challenges him to repeat that. Meanwhile, Rose reflects on how the bag of gold made her boldly promise Kalix she'd handle the task. But now that she realizes the paper is an invitation, likely from the Third Imperial Prince, she panics. Finding the same book is one thing, but how is she supposed to track down that exact invitation? She laments that others get reincarnated as noble ladies in romance fantasies and enjoy cushy lives, while she's stuck running secret missions. Still, she resolves to hunt for clues. She asks Mila if she knows any nobles close to the Third Imperial Prince. Mila is shocked and repeats the name in disbelief, prompting Rose to press her further. Mila admits she has no idea, explaining that the prince rarely visits the palace and that a commoner like her wouldn't know such things. Annoyed, Rose wonders why Mila acted like she knew something in the first place. She then asks if maids are allowed into the Imperial Library, but Mila says no, only a few nobles have access. Suddenly, Mila gives a sly smile, pulls out a piece of paper, and says she knows just the place, Crimson's bookstore, where Rose can find all sorts of things. She hands Rose a map and assures her she'll find what she needs there. Rose, thinking it must be valuable local insider info, thanks her. Mila cheerfully asks for some treats in return, and Rose agrees. As Rose leaves, Mila's eyes briefly glow, and she curiously wonders how she ended up with that map in the first place. Rose heads out to find Crimson's bookstore using the map. Expecting downtown to be bleak due to the dark romance fantasy setting, she's surprised by how lively it is. She's proud of having slipped out of the palace by blending in with the crowd, but now she can't make sense of the map Mila gave her. Just then, someone bumps into her and she nearly falls, but the same ginger-haired man from earlier catches her. He greets her casually, saying there's no need to thank him. Rose thanks him anyway and tries to walk away, but the man follows her and asks where she's going. He then reveals he followed her from the Crown Prince's palace because he thought it'd be fun. Shocked, Rose demands to know who he is and why he was tailing her. He introduces himself as Aaron and says he was there when Chef Tyrant introduced her. Rose clarifies that she wasn't asking for his name, but for his reason for following her. Aaron replies that he did it because he thought it'd be fun. Annoyed, Rose calls him a stalker, but he doesn't even know what that means. She tells him to stop tagging along, but he continues to follow her. When she scolds him, he suddenly snatches the map from her hand. Rose demands it back, and Aaron casually identifies the location as Crimson's bookstore. Surprised, Rose asks if he knows the place. Aaron confidently declares that he's the best guide around and tells her to follow him. Though annoyed, Rose decides to go along. Aaron leads Rose to a dismal, shady area, making her doubt whether they're even heading in the right direction. She thinks that if he tricked her, she'll beat him with her shoe. Suddenly, Aaron glances at her with a strange flicker in his eyes before quickly putting on a cheerful smile. Rose, confused, wonders what that was about. Then Aaron announces they've arrived at Crimson's bookstore. The place looks so sketchy that Rose considers turning back. Why does only this place have such an eerie vibe? But she reassures herself not to judge by appearances. Places like this often have the best intel. Rose enters the bookstore and immediately doubts her decision, thinking she might have come to the wrong place. It doesn't look like the kind of store that would have noble family genealogies, which is what she needs. Aaron then asks what kind of forbidden text she's looking for, surprising Rose. He shows her bizarre titles like Secrets Under the Prince's Garb, The Night at the Tyrant's Side, and Why the Lady's Bread Went to One Manservant. Rose is baffled. Aaron cheerfully offers to help if she gives him a hint about her taste, romantic, innocent. Just then, Rose notices a book titled 34 Things You Need to Summon a Demon and asks about it. Aaron, flustered, says it must have been a mistake and that he grabbed the wrong one. Rose begins to question who Aaron really is. He seems far too familiar with the shady bookstore. Though he's a bit sketchy, she decides to ask him if the place sells intel. Aaron grins, saying he's the guy in the know around here, and then grabs her hand to take her somewhere. He brings her to an old man, calling him sir, and saying he's brought a client. The old man dismisses them, saying he doesn't deal with amateurs. In response, Rose steps forward and confidently places the bag of gold coins on the table, telling him to judge for himself whether or not she's an amateur. Surprised by the gold, the man laughs and says it seems the rumors about her were wrong. He then asks what she wants to know, calling her the Crown Prince's chambermaid, much to Rose's shock. Rose recalls a key lesson from her hotel casino internship: always stay calm. She plans to respond smoothly, but instead blurts out, "How do you know who I am?" The old man explains that it was easy: her distinct hair color, the Crown Prince's palace brooch, her high-quality clothes, and the fact that she came prepared to negotiate all gave her away. He also heard from a nobleman that the chambermaid had been replaced again, and the new one had earned the Crown Prince's trust. Finally, he addresses her by name, Rose Estania, the maid who survived the Crown Prince's bedchamber, and pointedly asks what information she's seeking. Rose acknowledges the man's expertise and asks how much he knows about the imperial family. He begins to say he doesn't deal with that kind of information, prompting Rose to stand and say it was nice meeting him. But the man quickly stops her, telling her to let him finish. Taking 3 gold coins from her bag, he says that while he usually avoids imperial affairs, he's willing to make an exception for the Crown Prince's maid. He then asks Rose to tell him exactly what she's looking for. Rose asks the man if he also deals with items. He replies that it depends on what kind of object she's looking for, but yes, he does. He asks what she desires. Rose thinks that while she needs an invitation to the third Imperial Prince's party, something more urgent is finding the novel's female lead to escape Kalix's watch and survive. She tells the man she wants him to look into something first, Duke Tianel's biggest secret. Rose believes that secret is his illegitimate child, the female lead. If the intelligence dealer uncovers this, she can confirm both his skills and the female lead's safety. Basically, she'll be hitting two birds with one stone. With 2 days off from Kalix, she wants the information within one. Rose asks if 1 day is enough time. The man responds by asking if she's testing his skills. Rose hands him 3 gold coins and says if he gets her the information she needs, she'll pay double next time. Impressed, the old man says she knows how to do business and agrees to deliver the information by tomorrow. Aaron then asks Rose how she knew the inquiry fee was 3 gold coins. Rose explains that she guessed it based on how Mr. Crimson paused at 3 while counting the coins. When Aaron silently stares at her, she wonders if she said something strange. Then he laughs and says she's intriguing and that he'll have to keep watching her closely. Rose, creeped out, tells him to cut it out and just take her back to the Imperial Palace. Aaron insists she meant to say dreamy, not creepy, and Rose snaps back, calling him a freak. Aaron protests that that's too harsh. Later that night, Rose checks the diary again for updates and finds a new entry from the original Rose stating that Mr. Crimson, who appears to sell forbidden texts, is actually an intelligence dealer with deep knowledge of shady dealings and palace secrets. The standard fee for information is 3 gold coins. Annoyed, Rose thinks the diary could have told her that earlier. As she flips the page, she reads that Mallory is a medicinal herb trader who gave her a box of Vigent leaves and taught her how to detect poison with them. They turn blue when in contact with poison. She stored the box in the 3rd drawer of her desk. Rose checks the 3rd drawer and finds the Vigent leaves just as described in the diary, fresh, with the roots still attached. She reflects that being able to detect poison will be useful and asks the diary if it's trying to help her, but it remains silent. Feeling a bit low, she pleads to be sent back home. Still, she quickly shakes it off, encouraging herself not to give in to despair. She reminds herself that she did well today and just needs to survive until the female lead appears. Then she can leave the palace and find a way back home. She cheers herself on, declaring, "Let's make this happen, Lee Chaerin."